Boxing King Media in association with Boxro. Eddie, we've just seen Bam Bam Rodriguez and Sonny Edwards come together for the first time. I was expecting fireworks. How do you think that presser went?
Yeah, it's fascinating. I don't think it needs to be talked up too much. You've got Bam Rodriguez, very quiet. Do you know what I mean? You're never going to see him. You know, he talked a little bit about Sonny running his mouth, and Sonny talked at 500 words a minute, as he always does. And both guys very confident. I mean, this is a top fight, one that stands out on the schedule and may close the year, or there might be a week after event as well. But just a top unification fight between two great champions.
Definitely. So I'm going to put you in the spot. I think I asked you a few months ago, but who do you think is the favourite? Sonny's the closest to you.
I mean, the problem is, like, Jesse's so good, yeah, and he's so calm. And then when you listen to Sonny, he kind of reminds me a little bit of a flyweight Tyson Fury. You know, like that belief that you just cannot get beaten. You're going to go in the ring and it's all going to come naturally. Like, he's been fighting ever since he was a very, very young boy. He's going to step through those ropes and he's going to do whatever it takes to get the win. I'm going to have to sit on the fence because I represent both guys. But I think on paper, with it being in America,
Mexican crowd?
Yeah, would you say that Jesse is a slight favourite in the fight? But then with the mindset of this guy, I just don't know. Like, it would go down as one of the great British victories in a ring. And I have to take my hat off to both guys because they both want it so bad. And this is what... When Sonny Edwards signed his contract with us, there were fights in there and the money, right? We didn't even have to have a conversation. Some contracts have the minimum number to be negotiated. Then you end up having the conversation and you're so far away in terms of what you think is the right price. So this was one where the number for Bam was in the contract. I didn't even have to tell him we were in negotiations. I just had to phone him up and say, it's done. And, that's what you want in boxing. Because I can only be as good as... the fights that I make can only be as good as the fighters that are prepared to take them. I can't force a fighter or a team to take a fight. There's loads of fights that I would like to make this year that I can't make because someone doesn't want the fight. This was one where Bam, Robert, Sonny, Grant, the whole team just went, make it. And we made it, and it shows you how great boxing can be because we've still got 13 weeks left. It's unbelievable.
We definitely have. I think the main concern I was thinking for Sonny is that Mexican crowd, the judges, are they going to be American? Have you guys already kind of discussed that?
We'll make sure that they're neutral officials on that night, but you're still going to have to, I don't say Sonny's got a negative style, but will that style excite that judge? I think that when we talk about judging fights, whatever way you want to look at it, judges have specific styles they like, don't they? I mean, someone might score for aggression, someone might score for slickness, I don't know. But you've got to win rounds. You just got to bank rounds and win rounds, and I think it's one of those fights that just will be tremendous to watch.
Definitely so. And then we did the press conference earlier on. How did you think Conor Benn dealt with his first press conference in nearly 2 years, 18 months, should I say? And then did you understand what he said in Spanish?
No. But I think it was something like, when I see an opening, I'll take it. I mean, the fact that Conor Benn speaks Spanish like that, I can't tell you. Like, from a marketing point of view, he's so good. I wish I spoke Spanish. I should really learn.
American.
I know, yeah. And he looked a bit emotional. It's very difficult. I felt a bit emotional sitting up there for him. And for knowing what we've been through in the last year to 18 months. I'm a bit nervous because, Orozco's got a bit of a mullet on him. But he's also a lump. You saw in the head-to-head. And it's up at 154. And he's going to be heavy on the night. And Conor's at 147, really. But, look, he should be steamrolling through Orozco. And if he does it in style, we want to just confirm that next fight for December and keep the ball rolling.
With regards to Orozco, you just touched on his size, etc. I spoke to Conor yesterday, and he spoke about the loyalty, and he told me that he's extended his deal with yourself as well, and he even suggested if double the money came, he wouldn't go because of what you've done for him over the last year or so. How did that make you feel, and just response to them?
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, look, there's not a huge amount of loyalty in the sport. I mean, the way I've supported Conor Benn, if he didn't show me loyalty, it would really make me question what on earth I'm doing in this game. And I haven't shown him that support because I think there's some big fights out there for him, because I've done it because I believe him. And, you know, when the results came in, I've said it before, your initial response is always that someone's guilty, right? It's just the way it is. And I really had to almost do my own investigations, not just scientifically, but with the man, to get to a point where I believed him. Do you know what I mean? And it didn't take too long, but there was a lot of meetings, and there was a lot of tears, and there was a lot of, say, violence, but there was a lot of moments in the office between Tony and Nigel and Conor, and you'll never know what went on behind closed doors, but it was more than enough to show me this man was innocent. And at that point, you have to make a decision. You've got two options, really, in this situation. The easy thing to do is to say, look, I'm just a promoter. Conor Benn's going to go through the process and we'll see what happens. And no one even asked me about it. Do you know what I mean? We just get on with life. People, the amount of people that have said to me, why did you choose to back Conor Benn publicly like that? You've almost made a rod for your own back. And the answer is because I am not a snide. Like, if I believe in someone, if they need me and my help and my support as a friend, I'm giving it to them. No matter what, we stand till the end. And if I didn't believe in him, trust me now, I would never have gone through what I've gone through in the last year. No, thank you very much. So I did it out of loyalty, but I did it because I believe him. Even if I didn't like him and I believed him, I would have done the same thing. But the fact that I like the kid, the fact that I know he's got a good heart, the fact that I know he's not a cheat, the fact that I know he's a man of faith, and I know he wouldn't do this, made me just say, I need to speak out for him. He needs my help. So you can never question my loyalty, and I can never question his, because forget this episode, he would never have left us anyway, because he's a proper kid, you know. And I still find it difficult today to see the criticism. And, you know, yesterday you announced he's on, and then, you know, this morning you've got the secretary of the British Boxing Board of Control on with Simon Jordan on TalkSport. The whole thing is the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. And I'm just like, fucking hell, here we go again. So the mindset from us now is we're getting on with it. Do you know what I mean? No one's ever...
Point, I want to ask you, you just touched on it there, the chairman of the boxing board, obviously talking to TalkSport. Do you know anything about that relationship? Because obviously I don't have access to him, and I'm pretty sure none of the other YouTube channels have access to him. Why is the conversations there quite easy?
I guess the board are able to do whatever media they want. They've never done media. Like, Robert Smith has never done media interviews. And like you said, you can't get access to him. Certain people can. And obviously, if you are the board and you feel like you want to be pro the board, what outlet do you go on? TalkSport. You go on the guy that can't stand Conor Benn and us, and whatever way you want to look at it. And people say, well, there's no agenda over here. Come on, guys. Like, there's clearly an agenda. You've got all these other people failing drugs tests. No one's even mentioned them once. You've got a fight last week in Chris Eubank against Liam Smith. There was no drug testing. There was like one test on the day of the fight. No one's even said anything. When you ask me, and I'm not talking about you, and you're always free to ask me what you want, but I'm talking about people that will ask me 30 questions and push me and push me. Yeah, but this, and he hasn't produced this, and where's the scientific evidence? And yet someone else stands up and says, is there VADA testing? No, I can't comment on that because it's confidential. Okay, next question. Whoa. Like, it's just a treatment of someone versus a treatment of another. But I understand, one, we're big. Two, I'm a loudmouth. So I'm gonna take it, but it still baffles me that Robert Smith would go. I mean, don't forget, it wasn't so long ago that I was in TalkSport, and, you know, we unearthed that Simon Jordan, who told me factually I spoke to Robert Smith before we'd even had the results of the Dillian White test, that he spoke to Robert Smith. I mean, what is? I still think that's been overlooked. I mean, what is Robert Smith giving Simon Jordan confidential information about a test results? What? Why? Like, and then you pop on. Let's get Robert on. Right, Robert, you ready for this? You can imagine the conversation. Right, I'm going to ask you this, and you ready? You ready? Probably even gave him the questions before he even went on. But
Do you have these conversations with Robert? Have you told him,
not really,
because he comes to your shows, doesn't he?
The relationship's not fantastic. We have reached out to the British Boxing Board of Control and Robert Smith on numerous occasions to say, is it worth getting together and just talking this through? Because we feel like it's getting a bit out of control. Speak to our lawyers. Disappointing. But we get it. He probably is thinking, I can't, the lawyers are dealing with it, and that's probably instruction as well. But, like, the one thing that I really still gets me to this day is there's a real clever play on words this morning. I don't even think it was intentional. But they said, he said, as far as I'm concerned, Conor Benn hasn't cleared his name. Right? Pure opinion. Right? What they should have said to him, is Conor Benn cleared to box? The answer is categorically, whatever way you want to look at it, yes, factually, legally, in every single way. Now, we know they may appeal. And guess what? If he loses the appeal, he's not cleared to box and he'll be suspended again. But your opinion of if he's cleared his name is different to my opinion of if he's cleared his name through what he's presented to other people from what we've seen. But he's been asked to go through a process that he went through and won. So when the commissions here spoke to Robert Smith and said, is Conor Benn cleared? He has absolutely no other answer than yes, he is. And that's what he would have said as well. Now, he might have said to them, I don't really want him to fight, but unfortunately, he's not suspended anymore. That was lifted, so he is cleared to box. Now, I just wish you'd say that. Go on TalkSport and say, listen, we're disappointed we lost the hearing. We are going to appeal, but as of now, Conor Benn is cleared to box. And he's boxing on Saturday. Now, I'm not very happy about it, but that's the situation. That's what he should have said. Not, in my opinion, he hasn't cleared his name. He went through the process and he won. So your opinion is that, but at the end of the day, I don't like the way it's going backwards and forwards all the time. But look, at the end of the day, he has to defend himself and the board have to defend himself, and so do we as a business, and so does Conor Benn. We're getting on with it now. This is like something happening to you and you can't go to work. Right, 18 months later, you've got no income. You've spent all this money on scientific evidence, on lawyers and everything. You're at home with your missus and your kid, like he is, and you've got zero revenue, right? And you go into this massive hearing, and you win, and they go, suspension lifted, and you go, finally, I can go back to work. And then you hear they might appeal, but we'll kind of let you know when it is. What do you think you do? Just sit on your sofa and wait for a potential appeal or appeal that might happen in 4 months. Right? No, you go back to work because you are allowed to. It's actually a restraint of trade if they don't allow you to go back to work. So that's where we are. And, it's, I just think now, like it's so good to see him fight, because what I believe once he fights on Saturday, the ball will start rolling. And we will speak to the board and we will say, we would like permission to box in the UK in December.
And could they reject that based on, let's just say, the decision's not overturned, he is clear to fight, according, as the NADP have said, but could they then just out of, I don't know, just the fact that you don't get along?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't want to use that word.
Yeah, well, look, legally, you're not suspended, you're cleared to fight, you should be granted permission to box. Now, if you don't grant someone permission to box on that basis, I don't know, in an ideal world, the appeal would happen next week. And when we heard about this, we wanted the appeal to happen as soon as possible. So the fact that, I think if the appeal was next week or in October, he wouldn't have boxed this weekend. But we can't just say, no, he's not going to box this year now because there might be an appeal. And then you have to also remember, the decision from the hearing came on the final day that decision was allowed to be made. The appeal came on pretty much the final day that appeal was allowed to be made. If you don't think there's a slow play here, then, and if they get an opportunity to maybe not lodge appeal money or kick it down the road, they will do it. And we're not just going to sit there like muppets, just having won the case and just go, all right, just let us know, yeah? We'll just wait. We'll just sit here and he can just sit at home, train every day and you know, pay these bills.
Well, I don't know how this is going to end, but I hope it reaches its conclusion very soon. The last thing I want to ask you, Eddie, is the whole heavyweight scene, what the F is going on, because everyone's like wondering. There's Steve Bunce did an article recently saying there's only one heavyweight world title fight this year. Obviously, who are we blaming? Are we blaming the Saudis for, teasing people with the money? Is it the promoters or is it the fighters? Who's been too greedy, or who can we
I
blame?
think you have to blame the fighters. I mean, look, our number one heavyweight charge, Anthony Joshua, has boxed twice in 4 or 5 months, and may even box in December. It would be 3 times in 9 months. So we're okay. But there has been activity from champions. Do you know what? I'll be honest with you. When we had the belts, we were a bit inactive as well. And it's like you're getting letters every fight from the governing bodies. You've got to fight this guy. You've got a month to start negotiations. Then you start negotiations. Then a month passes. Nothing really happens. Then you extend it another 2 weeks. Then a purse bid set for 28 days. Then it gets to the end of that and you end up agreeing a deal. Do you know what I mean? It's like I really felt like belts slowed us down more than anything. And I don't know if we regret chasing undisputed so hard, but I think it's the thing to do. I think every fighter should do it, but it definitely slowed up our activity. And I think one of the things AJ's enjoying now is actually not having the politics of the belts, where you can box more frequently. And we're looking forward to seeing him back in the ring. Yeah, look, we're speaking to Shelley Finkel. I had a chat with him today, and I don't want to say too much because Shelley always tells me off. He says, you can't, because you are incapable of just basically keeping your mouth shut. I'm like, I get asked all these interviews, I've got to tell them something, and all I'm going to tell you is we're talking. We want to make the fight. So whether that's in Saudi, whether that's in the Middle East, whether that's in Vegas or Wembley, we would like to make the Wilder fight, and we'll do all we can to make that happen.
Eddie Hearn, all the best in Saturday night.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.